I think for anyone that is trying to build any sort of marketing agency, either whether you're digital, whether you're creative, like it is absolutely a slog, and there are highs, but gosh, there are lows. So I realized that as a sole founder, it was time to move on.
Welcome to You're the Boss podcast show. And today I have a special guest, Dawn Farrow. She's been described by Exhibition News as the accidental architect of a live experience revolution. So, Dawn, welcome to the show today.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. So just explain to me, first of all, so we got the definitions correctly. What is a live revolution? Live
I
experience.
love that. A live experience revolution. So I think the best word is the accidental, but I imagine we'll come back to that. So to explain that I work within the experience economy. So when we talk about a live experience revolution, I take responsibility predominantly for the marketing, sales and communications workforce within the experience economy. The experience economy is in the UK forecast to grow to 134 billion in the next couple of years. And interestingly, globally forecast to reach 12 trillion dollars, which is hugely exciting. I work within anything that is live and ticketed.
Right.
That could be theatre, immersive, exhibitions, galleries, consumer events, festivals, but it is the revolution of the people that are finding more ways to sell tickets and build their brands.
Right. Okay. That sounds huge. Okay. So then you said that you're accidental. So what was accidental about it? Tell us your story.
I love that. And I have to say, I have on the consulting side of my business, I have some clients and that really makes them chuckle, the accidental bit. But I think it is a wonderful example of identifying over time. I saw a need within the community that I put myself as part of. And so really by identifying some really important pain points, the pain points being around the demands in relation to selling tickets, the targets we need to meet, the lack of training within the workforce that I'm in, several other areas of pain, I realized that maybe somebody should take responsibility for supporting and delivering solutions to those pain points. And so I guess that is the accident, that it was never my real intention, but it has been something that I have, very much put myself at the forefront of
Right.
in terms of, moving an industry and a workforce forward.
Right. So what were you doing to actually notice that this was a problem?
Yes. So I built a very successful marketing agency, which specifically worked with clients to sell their tickets, build their brands, grow their audiences. I was fortunate enough that with no foresight, that I closed the business just before COVID. And interestingly, what was happening before COVID and what happens now across sales patterns and the industry as a whole is really, there is before and there is after, which I think is not unique to the experience economy in terms of trends and learnings. But what I had seen over time in the last 5 years, now of course 6, is that it was all just getting a little harder to know how to move forwards with a campaign. What was the right decision? Who is making the decisions? Is Meta still working, or have we all agreed it isn't? Are partnerships working, or which partnerships? And none of us really had all of the answers. Not knowing the answers was then breeding, I think, nervousness with our promoters and producers. And that was then became cyclical. You sort of ended up in this really awful process of, well, you're recommending this idea, but how do I know it's going to work? And you go, well, I don't know it's going to work, but we have to try it because if not, where do we get to? And so I think that I realized I was feeling like that. And that's someone who's been marketing for, 20 odd years across live experiences, from Friends to Squid Game to Batman. And if I was feeling it, gosh, I bet other industries, other attractions or theatre shows or immersive, events were also feeling it. And lo and behold, they absolutely were.
Okay. So then you mentioned that you stopped your business just before COVID. and then you're doing what you're doing now as a separate business now based off that need that you saw. Am I right?
Yes,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right.
Right. So what made you stop just before COVID? What happened there?
Well, that's a brilliant question. I had been building that business for 8 years. We were turning over multi-million pounds as a marketing agency. I set it up on my own as a sole founder, and we saw great success. But I also realized that I, as a business owner, could only take the business so far. And that actually, though I didn't know this current business, which is called OnSale Group, um, was the next move, I did recognize that the agency model was no longer as successful as it used to be.
Uh-huh.
Which, I stand by. I think for anyone that is trying to build any sort of marketing agency, either whether you're digital, whether you're creative, like it is absolutely a slog, and there are highs, but gosh, there are lows. So I realized that as a sole founder, it was time to move on.
Hmm.
I began consulting. That was the obvious route because I didn't know what I wanted to do. And of course, what I said was, I will not set up another business. I shall rest for a while. I shall just take it all in. I will enjoy consulting. But I don't know, the problems appeared and I thought, okay, let's build the community. Let's start at the community. Let's build a community around OnSale Group. Um, and let's build from there. Let's build them an event, which now happens every May, that answers the problems that they're experiencing every single day.
Okay. So there's quite a few things to unpack there. So first of all, if you've been running a business for 8 years and you decide to give it up, right? What's going through your mind at that point? What made
Mm.
what made that happen for you?
Made that happen for me. There was no aha moment. I didn't wake up one day and just think, and today is the day. Not least that I was employing, a lot of people in my
Right.
business. And
Yeah.
so I had, and I had rent and I had a lot of people and overheads to consider.
Mm.
But slowly over time, I think the acknowledgement that growth in an agency is extraordinarily hard
Mm.
and that I had grown it, the financial revenue we were generating in.
Hmm.
Essentially, I did the maths. I knew that in order to get to the next stage of growth within the business would require X, Y, and Z. And maybe some of those things were not things that I wanted to do. So I didn't want to be owned by a bigger business. That wasn't something I had an interest in at that point. I didn't want to keep trying to, sell things to clients that I didn't think was going to, help them sell more tickets. I didn't want to employ cheap staff. I wanted to retain great ones, but that's very expensive for, an agency. So there were lots of small things over time that I realized. And perhaps more than that, that my skill set could maybe be used in a different way.
Right. Okay. So then you decided to take a break, right? And then you're doing your consulting, but you're taking a break and taking things easy, right? And then you saw this problem that you could solve, and then you're into the next business. So, what made you
Yeah.
decide to start the next business when you said you weren't going to?
Yes. I remember this about my first business, my agency as well. So I think that sometimes you have an idea, and I think some people act on those things very, very quickly. And some people perhaps think for a really long time and maybe never get round to it. With both the agency and with OnSale Group, I thought it sort of came about, and then I had I get like a tummy feeling, like I get an anxiety, and I get oh my gosh, like it becomes like could I have found this solution? Could I help people? Have I found my purpose? There's
Mm.
lots and lots of different things happening for me at that point. And also the stress test of, within the community. So I asked people, I did the piece of work. I went out and I said, what do you need to be able to do your job better? Like, are we missing this? I did the research. I did both the emotional stress test and the logical stress test. And both paths came back to, yes, there is definitely a gap in the market for doing what I want to do.
Right. Okay. All right. So you mentioned purpose there. I think that's a really important thing. It's like, have you found your purpose? And you want to do this business because you saw a need and you saw a way to help people and solve a problem that was there that nobody else was solving. Right. So, and it's given you that purpose. How important is, do you think, having the purpose in actually starting a business or running a business?
So I can only speak for me personally, and when I respond to that, to say that I think that it is everything. It is so hard building, creating and building something that if you cannot at the end of the day remind yourself why you're doing it, like it becomes you just you'll stop
Mm,
because it's too hard
mm,
otherwise. And I think that I thought a lot about what sort of a business did I want to build, and not least when I was sort of in between building businesses, and I just thought, God, maybe I'll get a job. I'll just go get a job. And I realized, that that just isn't, like like it without purpose. I don't, I won't personally feel fulfilled or want to even get up and make it happen in a day.
So, have you ever had a job or have you always run a business?
No, I have. I've had several really fabulous jobs, but all I have to say, all of the work I've done has always been within the experience economy. I originally trained as a dancer. The reason I came to London is because I wanted to be a performer. And I quickly realized that if I wasn't going to be a performer, I had found my tribe and that I definitely wanted to be within the live, what we now refer to as the experience economy. And so even when I was working for other people in agencies or promoter offices, I absolutely had the fact that, I could finish my day and go see a show.
Mm,
Like the best emails of the days were the ones that said, "We've got free tickets for this West End show opening tonight if anybody wants to go." And I
nice.
couldn't in my 20s, I could not believe it. At one point I was marketing a tour, a European tour of Cats the musical in my
Okay.
mid-20s, and having trained as a dancer from the age of 4, I could not believe that this was now my job. Like, and it was hard, but wow. Wow, wow, wow. And so that's, yeah, that's the business that I'm in
Right.
is definitely my home.
Right. So so even though you've moved on from different things, you've always stayed within that industry, basically.
Yes.
Yeah, and done that.
Yeah.
And now you're just
Yeah.
finding your feet again on something that is answering a problem. So I think this is key is when you I think for a lot of people when they start a business, they're starting a business because they see a problem that maybe usually it's something that has happened to them that they found it's a problem for them and then they look for a solution and then realize there isn't one.
Mhm.
And then it's like, well, if nobody's doing this, I should do it, right? So, what exactly were the problems that people were saying to you that they were having? You mentioned things like service and
Mm.
adaptability and things like that. What else?
Yeah. So I think the first thing to say is that, and this is not unique to the experience economy, but the marketing, and maybe let's say the Marcoms workforce, I think generally, globally, put in some serious hours and they are literally at the forefront of selling marketing and selling and reaching targets. And when I then, take that down specifically within the experience economy, what that has created is some very hardworking, incredibly passionate people. But that is also a very toxic mix because what happens is you work very long hours because you love the industry. You also never feel like your job is done because ultimately it isn't.
Isn't
There's always, even when you're sold out, it's like someone's just found 50 tickets behind the back of a sofa. Um, that you need to sell or find a way to sell. And so it seemed to me that maybe maybe the problems where there's existing kind of workforce evidence that says we don't have a community, we are delivering above and beyond. The forecasts are definitely getting higher because the costs of everything are going up. And that in addition to that, I realized that there wasn't I got to be this phrase might not be quite right, but there wasn't a safe place where Marcoms to Marcoms could speak candidly about how to market, how to sell more tickets, how to grow audiences, how to future forecast in a world that is increasingly unknown when it comes to what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. So why is it becoming increasingly unknown? What's the reason for that?
I think that there are so many reasons for that. I think my personal observation would be that we have almost so much data now that the question is, so which data point would you like to use? We are, as an industry, predominantly measured on ticket sales. The danger of only being focused on a ticket sale is that we can risk building campaigns that are all about conversion. And that actually, as an industry, we forget the joy of brand awareness. And I think that sometimes the brand awareness is missed from our marketing mixes, our marketing campaigns, because we're often dealing with much smaller budgets. I think we also uniquely, particularly within the live experience economy, have a workforce who are increasingly jack of all trades. So I remember this incredible marketer joining a client office, and there was a task, and I think it was CRM related. And so she was like, "Great, I understand it. I understand the brief. I understand what we're doing and the timeline." And she said, "And so who writes the email?" And I said, "You write the email." And she said, "Oh, right, right." "And then who designs it?" And I said, "No, no, no. Also you." Yeah. And it was this, she came from outside of the industry, so talented. And of course, she lasted a nanosecond because she was like, "This is crazy. Like, I can get paid more and do half the amount of work." Like, but like it was such a clear, like, oh wow, that is in the real world. Somebody briefs it, and then other people do. No, no,
Yeah.
no. Like your response now, you get to do all of it.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you're meant to be really grateful because you work, because you're working in the experience economy.
Yeah.
It's this very odd mix.
Yeah, I know what that's like when especially in agencies and everyone's got to double down and do, as you say, crazy hours. Like today, I get someone sent me an email today and said, "So shall I send this copy to the tech team for them to build the page?" And I said, "Well, no, can you do it?
You are the tech team.
You are
You
now the tech
you
team."
are. Yeah, and here's the login. I know. Right. It's quite unique, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think, and I do also think that that is also a gift. Like there's very few things that I cannot have an open conversation with a fellow marketer or client around. But there is also a problem there that if no one is taking responsibility for keeping people ahead of the curve,
Yeah.
we end up with very poor marketing and very out of date tech. And I think that the experience economy, I think theatre, for example, is a really, that you see some of the most incredible work, and then you see things you like, oh wow, that feels really dated. Like I bought a ticket the other day, and before I'd even made my purchase, they said, "Where did you hear about us?" I mean, it's just like, no, 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 no. Now is not the time. Like, don't ask me. Like, literally, what you want to do is take my money.
Yeah.
And then if you've got questions, like, but take the money, literally, immediately. And so it's that sort of example that, really, that's an easy win.
Right.
But unless we come together as a community
Mm,
to say, commercially, here's some micro updates you can be making, don't you
right.
know?
Right.
Like no one was taking that role.
Right. And it's the little things like that, right? When you're walking through the customer journey, and it's the little things that make the huge difference as well. And it's something that you can overlook because you just don't consider it, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
It really is.
yeah. So what exactly does OnSale do in terms of providing services for
Yes.
your clients?
Yeah. So we every May we have an event called OnSale Live. So you won't believe it, but this year is OnSale Live 26.
Wow. Okay.
I know I'm definitely in marketing there, as in 2026, not number 26,
I was
because
going
we
to
only
say
did
those
one
numbers don't
last
add
year,
up.
2026. But but for anybody new, we've been going 26 years. No, so we have an in-person confex where we have 4 zones.
Mm,
Main stage, we have an expert zone where we hear like, this is what you can do, practical guidance. We have keynotes on the main stage. We have panels on the main stage, which are predominantly future focused.
mm,
And then we also have a personal development zone. And the personal development zone is all around like, what do you want to learn about? Like, how do we upskill your confidence? How do we talk about sales, but you're a marketer? And we also have free one-to-one coaching, because I truly believe, one, I believe in the power of coaching, but two, I believe that we're an industry that doesn't necessarily invest in that for our workforce. And
mm.
I think that if we can have healthier people, we will genuinely create better campaigns.
Right. Right. When you say healthier people, so the coaching is about
Mental health,
mental health.
well-being.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. 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 And so that's once a year you're doing that. And then in
Yes.
between, how do you
Yes. So
run the day? What's the day-to-day look like for you?
the day to day, so we have a WhatsApp community that people who are working specifically within Marcomes for Live Experiences
Mhm,
can join.
mm,
We also run regular webinars,
mhm.
both about, great things that are happening, from TikTok ticketing to updates on legislation. And then we also have a marketing masterclass that we run through the Global Institute of Experience Marketing. And that is, almost in a very traditional sense, a 1 day in-person marketing masterclass that teaches you for the very first time about, AI in relation to search. It teaches you about customer psychology when you're selling a ticket. It
Nice.
teaches you about the advertising that is happening now that you may not have adopted, and also about ticketing software, and how to transact and how to build ticketing for your live experience. Um, and that didn't, again, commercially speaking, that just did not exist for our community.
Okay. So this is a paid community. They become members and pay a membership. Is that how it works?
They actually don't, not at the moment. So the 2 ways that people pay to engage with the business are through On Sale Live each May,
Mhm.
and then also through the masterclass.
Okay. Okay. All right. Lovely. Lovely. So with all that going on, how do you manage your time when you're not working?
Yeah. Yes. Because, in fact, yes, I'm also married with a 9-year-old daughter and 2 dogs.
Oh,
So, how do I manage it? Well, one, I think, I I love what I do, and although I am hugely respectful of the 9 to 5, I have never worked 9 to 5, and I think that's the nature of being within the experience economy. And so I'll be honest, my work blurs with my personal life, but very easily, because I still love going to experiences and talking to clients involved in those experiences. And so I don't fret about that. So I always work weekends. That's just how it is. And I guess that, I also still consult on, large scale experiences. So I have clients, and beautifully, the work I do there complements the work I deliver within the community. And it's so obvious, that the problems I identify when I'm working on projects, I literally I come across a problem, I literally take it into the WhatsApp and go, we're experiencing this. Anybody else have that? Anybody got any connections or thoughts on how I might solve it? It's just brilliant. It just works.
fantastic. That's really so you've really solved a problem for people and you're solving it for yourself as well.
I know, I know. You're right. There's a crazy selfishness to all of this. I got a lovely on the community today, a lovely message saying thank you for creating the community from this brilliant marketing. agency owner. And I made the point, like, gosh, what an amazing community. But I also inside was thinking, God, I don't know if I would manage without this community. Like it's brilliant. It's an amazing resource to finally have together.
Yeah. So it is a resource. It's where people can go and get their questions answered, right?
Yes, definitely.
And just immediately as well, I guess. You've got someone that will pop up with an answer to the question because they've had the same experience. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also a community where no one's going to say, oh, I can't believe you don't know that. Or
Yeah.
it's a really the joy, I think, particularly, I think, in live experiences, people of generally fairly liberal speaking, very open to community. And I think that what I've noticed is that there's as we tend to preach, but you're not always sure, like there's no such thing as a bad
Yeah.
question. And I see that every day. It's a really wonderful thing, especially when new people join and they probably feel a bit like, "Oh, this might be too basic a question," but you know, they're normally fantastic
Yeah.
questions.
Well, normally when you ask a question, it's going to help people that actually have the same question, but either didn't want to ask it or didn't think of asking it. And then suddenly it's, oh, yeah, that's a problem for me too. So, yeah, I'm following, right? What's the answer to this? Okay.
Yes,
So
yes.
for sure, that's definitely helps. So, and I think community is the way to go. I think since COVID as well, since the pandemic, this need for human centered businesses, the need for community coming together and helping each other rather than in competition with each other as well. I think that's the way that happily the world is going.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that's such a great observation. I would say that having grown up originally in theatre marketing, if you were in theatre marketing, you only spoke with theatre marketing people and normally only within the agency you worked
Right.
for. Right. So if you saw another agency, you just had to, like, at an event, just look the other way. Don't tell them, don't even look at them. You might accidentally tell them a secret. And 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 actually what I realized was, God, there's brilliant things happening in music and there's brilliant things happening in immersive and there's brilliant things happening in theatre. And like, wow, what if everyone came together? And, some people said you're mad. People don't want to share. Well, I tell you, those people are wrong
Yes.
because
Yeah.
people do want to share and they do want to pass on support to others and learnings.
Yeah. Yeah. And it doesn't cost you anything to give someone a bit of advice, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it helps your own personal brand as well. If you're helping somebody else out and other people can see you've got special knowledge in a certain area, you never know, you might get some business from that as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's ways
I,
around.
I agree.
Yeah. So don't you think?
What is in the future for me? What a lovely question. At the moment, the focus is very much on the next event in May. And I suppose, and that's only a few months away, but my goal is that it surpasses what we did in last year and that the community, my only focus there is that the community enjoy it and get out what they want from it. And in a sense, I think that we will then know what the future is thereafter. So although I have plans about the growth of the business and the number of people in the room, but the reality is with a community focused event, it's the community that will decide actually, and I've built this business on what is quite a small community. At the moment, there are 300 people in the WhatsApp.
Right.
There are 700 on the newsletter. These aren't big numbers, but they do sell out events, when you're charging £200,
Mm,
250 people.
mm,
Like they sell out because my community is about quality of person and they're really, they're a very specific group, which I think is a really good reminder when you're building community.
yeah. Is focus, right? You focus on
Yeah.
what you don't try and do it for everyone. That's not going to work, right? So
Yeah, exactly.
okay. So it's been lovely chatting with you today. It's been really great.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for all your wisdom that you have shared. And I think it's encouraging when people can hear how someone has started not one business, but more than one, too. And you're doing consulting as well as doing the on sale work as well. So that's really good.
Mm.
So people can go and find out more at onsale.live. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. And is that the information for your May event? Is that where they can get
That's
information for that as well?
yes, that's exactly right. So if you go to onsale.live, it's got all the information about the May event, but it also has more around the vision. It has more about myself. So there's lots of good stuff to read about on there.
So I'll put the link below for that so that you can go and check out more about Dawn and about the live event. If you're in the industry and you want to attend, then tickets are, where are they on sale? Are they on
Yeah,
sale
they're on
now?
sale via that website.
Now.
So you can
Yeah.
you can get one. And in fact, we have a first time attendee rate. So
Mm,
if you're just keen to explore, you're not sure, just take the first time attendee rate. It's, less than £200.
right. Okay. Fantastic. Right. So Dawn, thank you so much for your time spent today. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Thank you so much. It's great to chat.
Thank you for listening to the show today. And if you've liked what you've heard, then do subscribe to the channel wherever you see it, wherever you're watching it. And if you're on YouTube, ring the bell so that you can get notified when we upload another episode so you don't miss the episodes as they come up.